All right, let's do this. Let's dive into some really fascinating history today.
Okay.
We're talking Knights Templar.
Ooh.
But hold on.
Okay.
We're not just doing like the same old Crusader tales.
Right.
We're going deeper.
Okay.
This deep dive takes us into some pretty out there territory.
All right.
We've got sources that hint at a connection to, wait for it,
Atlantis?
Yep, that Atlantis.
Wow.
We've got historical overviews,
Right.
but then things get really interesting.
Okay.
Some of the sources make some pretty wild claims.
It is amazing how the Knights Templar inspire such a wide range of interpretations, isn't it?
That's crazy.
You've got everything from solid historical accounts to theories that are,
right,
shall we say, a bit more creative.
A little bit more creative, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I get that the Templars were powerful in Iberians.
Yeah.
But Atlantis,
right?
How do you even...
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious to see how these sources try to connect those dots.
Well, before we jump into the deep end of speculation, maybe we should start with a solid foundation.
Okay.
Who were these Knights Templar?
Right.
Historically speaking.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Let's get Templar 101 out of the way.
Okay. So the Knights Templar were a Christian military order.
Okay.
Founded in the 12th century.
Okay.
Their original purpose was to protect pilgrims.
Okay.
Traveling to the Holy Land during the Crusades.
So brave warrior monks defending the faith.
Yeah.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's got to be more to the story, right?
Yeah.
They didn't just fade into obscurity after the Crusades.
Right. That's where things get really intriguing.
Okay.
They didn't just protect pilgrims. They also managed finances, becoming incredibly wealthy and influential.
Okay.
They even lent money to kings.
Wait, warrior monks turned bankers.
Yeah.
That's a side hustle I wouldn't have expected.
They were surprisingly savvy.
Wow.
They acquired land, managed properties, and essentially created an early banking system.
Wow.
But as with many stories of power and wealth, it's a dramatic downfall.
Okay, spill the tea. What happened?
Oh, it's juicy.
Was it a hostile takeover?
Well...
Did they lose everything in a medieval market crash?
It's a fascinating story full of political intrigue.
Okay.
So King Philip IV of France, who was heavily in debt to the Templars, saw an opportunity.
Yeah.
He accused them of heresy, blasphemy,
and
a whole host of nefarious activities.
Accusations. Sounds a bit convenient coming from a guy who owed them a fortune.
Right. There's debate among historians about whether the accusations were legitimate or simply a power grab to seize the Templars' assets.
So basically a medieval power play.
Yeah.
Like something straight out of Game of Thrones.
Exactly.
Lazy.
But whatever the truth may be,
the
consequences were severe.
Okay.
The Templars were arrested. Their assets were seized. And many, including their last Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, were executed.
Wow, talk about a fall from grace.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see why their story has captivated people for centuries.
Right.
Power.
Wealth.
It's all there.
Intrigue. A dramatic ending.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Yeah.
But how does Atlantis fit into all of this? I'm hooked. Lay it on me.
Well, buckle up, because this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
One of our sources, a YouTube channel called The Y-Files, claims that the Knights Templar had a secret mission.
Okay. A secret mission and a shadowy group.
Yes.
My interest is piqued. What was this mission all about?
According to the Y-Files, the Templars were tasked with finding remnants of Atlantean technology.
Atlantean technology?
Yeah.
Are we talking about, like, lost cities and underwater civilizations here? Hold on, I need to grab my scuba gear.
Maybe not scuba gear, but the channel claims the Templars supposedly discovered all sorts of incredible artifacts.
Okay.
The Ark of the Covenant.
Wow.
The Spear of Destiny.
Yeah.
The Holy Grail.
Wow.
The Emerald Tablet.
Okay.
They even suggest that the Templars were privy to secrets of Gnosticism and reincarnation.
Okay.
Essentially, they paint the Templars as guardians of forbidden knowledge.
Okay.
Which ultimately put them at odds with the church.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot to process.
It is.
Secret societies, ancient artifacts, forbidden knowledge. It's like a Dan Brown novel on steroids.
It definitely plays into our fascination with the mysterious and the forbidden, doesn't it?
For sure. But part of me is also thinking,
yeah,
Atlantean technology?
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Is there any historical basis for any of this?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And one we need to address head on.
Okay.
To be clear, there's no mainstream historical evidence to support these claims.
Okay, so no glowing Atlantean orbs or anything like that.
Probably not.
Okay.
But even though the factual basis is shaky,
yeah,
I think it's worth exploring why these ideas persist.
Yeah.
And why they're so appealing to so many people.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to dismiss something as pure fantasy.
Right.
But there's got to be a reason why these stories resonate so strongly.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe it's our human desire for hidden knowledge.
Right.
For narratives that challenge the accepted version of history.
I can see that.
Yeah.
We'll dive deeper into those motivations and explore the broader appeal of Templar myths next.
Okay.
But first, a quick word from our sponsors.
All right.
We'll be right back. All right, so we've established that the Knights Templar had a pretty wild ride.
Yeah.
Powerful, wealthy, and ultimately brought down in a cloud of intrigue.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's these whispers of Atlantis and secret knowledge.
Right.
Even if those claims are a bit far-fetched.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what is it about the Templars that makes them so ripe for this kind of storytelling?
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Their real history is already shrouded in enough mystery to fuel 1,000 stories.
Right.
Accusations of heresy.
Right. Rumors of hidden treasure,
Mm-hmm.
a sudden and dramatic downfall.
Yeah.
You don't need to invent Atlantean artifacts when you've got all that.
That's a good point. Real life could be pretty wild on its own.
It can.
But I'm guessing there's some specific elements of the Templar story
Yeah.
that make them especially appealing to those who love a good conspiracy theory.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The sources we're looking at highlight several themes that make the Templars catnip for storytellers and conspiracy theorists alike.
Lay it on me. What are those key themes?
Well, first and foremost, there's the secrecy and mystery surrounding the order itself.
Right.
This was an organization with its own rituals,
Yeah.
a hierarchical structure, and operations that spanned continents.
Okay.
Add to that their sudden downfall orchestrated by a power-hungry king.
Right.
And you have the perfect breeding ground for speculation.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like what really went on behind those closed doors.
Exactly.
What secrets were they guarding? Were they truly noble knights, or was there something more sinister at play?
Exactly. And that leads us to the second theme.
Okay.
The religious and spiritual elements that are so intertwined with the Templar story.
Right.
Their connection to the Holy Land,
Yeah.
to biblical artifacts,
Yeah.
to the very heart of Christendom.
Right.
It all lends itself to interpretations that go beyond the strictly historical.
So it's not just about power and intrigue, but also about tapping into deeper questions of faith, spirituality,
Yeah.
and maybe even esoteric knowledge.
You got it.
Wow.
And then, of course, you can't forget about the conspiracy theories.
Right.
The idea that they possessed knowledge or power that threatened the established order.
Okay.
This is where you get those connections to other secret societies.
Okay.
Like the Freemasons and Rosicrucians, or the claims that the Templars had a hand in shaping early America.
Right.
Or even that they used the Jolly Roger flag.
Wait, hold up. The Jolly Roger? That seems like a bit of a stretch, even for a conspiracy theory.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But remember, we're not just talking about historical accuracy here.
Oh,
we're talking about the power of narrative.
Okay.
These stories, whether grounded in fact or not, tap into something deep within our cultural imagination. Our need to believe in something bigger, something hidden.
I think you're right. It's like we're hardwired to seek out patterns, connections, explanations, even if those explanations lead us down some pretty fantastical rabbit holes.
Think about how the Da Vinci Code played with this idea of the Templars guarding a secret bloodline descended from Jesus and Mary Magdalene.
Right.
Millions of people were captivated by that story, even though there's very little historical basis for it.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
What is it about secret societies' hidden knowledge and power that we find so alluring?
That's a great question.
Is it a desire for control? Or a yearning for something more meaningful than everyday life?
That's the million-dollar question.
It's a complex mix of psychology, sociology, and cultural history.
Yeah.
Maybe we crave a sense of belonging,
right?
Of being in the know,
yeah,
of having access to truths that most people don't. Or perhaps it's a way to make sense of a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable.
Okay.
Whatever the reason, the enduring fascination with the Templars speaks to a very human need to believe in something beyond the surface of things.
I like a need to believe in something beyond the surface.
Yeah.
Like, we're not just exploring the history of the Knights Templar,
Mm-hmm.
but also our own need for stories, for myths, for explanations that go beyond the purely factual.
You're right on the money with that observation.
Oh.
But before we get too lost in the realm of speculation, let's bring ourselves back to a more grounded perspective.
Okay.
After all, we do have some excellent sources that offer a more balanced and historically accurate view of the Knights Templar.
Yeah, you're right. Like those documentaries from Timeline World History documentaries.
It's exactly.
Real Crusades history.
Yeah.
They seem to do a good job of debunking some of the more sensational claims.
Exactly. Those sources, along with articles like Templars versus Crusaders, what was the difference?
Right.
And the Knights Templar in 5 minutes really help us to separate fact from fiction.
Yeah.
They remind us that the Templars, while influential, were just one of many military orders operating during the Crusades.
Okay.
Not some shadowy force controlling the world from behind the scenes.
So no secret control of the global banking system.
Afraid not.
Oh, underground layers filled with Atlantean technology.
Afraid not.
Okay.
The truth, while perhaps less dramatic, is still fascinating.
Okay.
The Templars' wealth and power came from more practical means.
Okay.
Land management, financial savvy, and political connections.
Right.
And their downfall, while tragic, was likely more about King Philip's ambition and greed than any secret heresy.
Okay, I have to admit part of me is a little disappointed.
I was starting to get really invested in that Atlantis storyline.
I understand the feeling.
But I guess sometimes the simplest explanation is the most likely one.
It often is.
Yeah.
The truth, while perhaps less dramatic, is still fascinating.
Right.
It's a story worth knowing.
I agree. And it raises some important questions, too.
It does.
How do we separate fact from fiction, especially when we're dealing with history?
Yeah.
Why are we so drawn to conspiracies and secret societies?
Right.
And what does all of this tell us about ourselves, about our need to believe in something more?
Those are great questions and ones that are worth pondering as we continue to explore this topic.
Yeah.
What stands out to you from all this? Do you find yourself more drawn to the fantastical theories, or do you lean towards the historical camp?
Honestly, I'm a bit of both.
I think we all are.
I can appreciate the rigorous historical analysis, the careful piecing together of evidence.
Right.
But there's a part of me that can't help but be intrigued by the what-ifs.
Yeah.
The possibilities.
Of course.
The idea that maybe, just maybe, there are still secrets out there waiting to be uncovered.
That's the beauty of history, isn't it? It's a conversation that continues across generations.
Right.
We have the facts as we know them, but there's always room for interpretation, for new discoveries, for asking those questions that push us beyond the accepted narrative.
I think that's what makes this deep dive so compelling.
Yeah.
We've explored the Templars as historical figures, as mythical figures, and as symbols of something larger, something that speaks to our own hopes and fears.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's not just about the Templars.
Right.
It's about how we approach knowledge, how we sift through information, especially in an age where truth itself feels increasingly elusive.
So what does all this mean for our listener?
Yeah.
For the everyday person who's not a historian or an archaeologist?
Right.
What can they take away from all of this?
I think the takeaway here is the importance of being a critical thinker, a discerning consumer of information. Right. It means questioning assumptions, considering different viewpoints, and recognizing that even the most outlandish stories can reveal something about ourselves. Right. About our values and beliefs.
That's a powerful message.
It is.
It's like we're being encouraged to become active participants in the story of history.
Yes.
Not just passive recipients of information.
Precisely. And with that in mind, I think it's a great time to leave our listener with a final thought-provoking question.
Okay. So we've gone from warrior monks to powerful financiers to whispers of Atlantis and secret societies.
It's been quite a journey.
It has been a journey.
Yeah.
So what's the final verdict?
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
There's so much to consider.
Right.
But if I had to pick just one thing,
it
would be this: don't be afraid to question.
To question.
Yeah, question the narratives you encounter. Question the sources of information. And most importantly, question your own assumptions and biases.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's like we're being empowered to become history detectives,
Exactly.
to piece together the evidence and come to our own conclusions.
That's the spirit.
Yeah.
And in the case of the Knights Templar, there's still so much that's open to interpretation.
Yeah, that's true.
If we set aside the Atlantis theories and those more outlandish claims,
Right.
what real secrets might they have guarded?
Yeah, were they really just protecting pilgrims, or was there something more?
Right. Was it simply wealth and power?
Okay.
Or were there ideas, beliefs, maybe even knowledge that truly challenged the church?
That's a fascinating question.
It is, isn't it?
It's like their real legacy might not be about physical treasures, but about something much more intangible.
Right.
Ideas that were considered dangerous or subversive at the time.
Precisely think about the context of the time period.
Okay, the Crusades.
Yes, the Crusades.
The power struggles between monarchs and the church. The rise of new ways of thinking.
It's a time of great upheaval.
Right.
And it's not hard to imagine that an organization like the Templars, with their vast network and resources, might have come into contact with ideas that were considered heretical or even threatening to the established order.
It's like they were at the crossroads of history, caught between the old world and the new.
A fascinating position to be in.
For sure.
And perhaps their real secret wasn't so much about what they knew, but about their willingness to question, to explore.
Right.
To challenge the status quo.
To challenge the status quo.
Maybe that's what truly made them dangerous in the eyes of King Philip.
Okay.
And others who sought to maintain control.
Wow, that's a really thought-provoking way to look at it.
It's a different perspective.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like, even if we never find concrete evidence of Templar secrets, the very act of asking these questions, of digging deeper, is a way of honoring their legacy.
I think you've hit the nail on the head.
Wow.
The Knights Templar.
Yeah.
Whether you view them as heroic figures, tragic victims, or something in between, continue to capture our imaginations centuries later.
That's for sure.
And maybe that's their greatest legacy of all.
What's that?
The enduring mystery, the unanswered questions, the invitation to keep exploring, to keep seeking knowledge and understanding.
So to our listener out there, keep digging.
Keep digging.
Whether you're fascinated by history, mythology, or just the thrill of a good mystery.
It's all out there.
It is all out there.
Yeah.
The Knights Templar offer endless avenues for exploration.
They do.
Who knows, maybe you'll be the one to uncover the truth.
You never know until you look.
That's right. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of the Knights Templar.
It's been my pleasure.
We'll see you next time.